get everything in order here. Senator Hale, if you're ready. All right. I'll ask Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Rocky Adams. Senator Douglas. Present. Senator Howell. Here. Senator Neal. Present. Senator Schickel. Here. Senator Smith. Here. Senator Storm. Senator Turner. Here. Senator Yates. Present. Vice Chair Girdler. Here. Chairman Carpenter.
Here. We have a quorum ready to conduct business, and we'll start off with House Bill 210. If we have Representative Pollock here. If you have any guests with your representative, introduce yourself for the record and have your guest introduce themselves as well, and we're ready to get started.
Michael Sarge Pollock, District 51 State Representative.
Bob Death. Am I?
Nope.
Bob Deathridge. I am chairman of CIGA.
Appreciate it, gentlemen. You're ready to start.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. House Bill 210. First of all, I would like to explain that what the association's about. Kentucky Insurance Guarantee Association was established in Kentucky General Assembly in 1972. This particular bill updates the statutes governing CIGA for the first time since 1998. Basically, a cleanup bill. It more closely aligns the governing statutes to those in the current National Conference of Insurance.
I think we have a motion.
Funds.
But there's a sub. Have you?
There is a sub, yes.
Motion on the sub. Do I have a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Sub is adopted. Please continue, Sarge.
So the committee sub, just since we talked about that real quick, there's two changes we made. The Education Labor Cabinet reached out to us, wanted a little clarity there. So there's a couple changes due to language relating to any obligation of an insolvent insurer arising out of reinsurance contract. And then the other one is an obligation to a state or federal government. This draft inserts the following, basically saying an obligation to a state other than Kentucky or the federal government. So basically, we changed a little language in there on that committee sub that the Education and Labor Committee asked for. And so back to basically the 210, the other provisions in this bill is to make clarity to this that self-insurers are barred from recovering from CIGA, simply because they're not members of the association. Just to make sure everybody's clear on that. Updates to the definition of a covered claim, establishes limits on cybersecurity claims, and then makes a number of non-substantive updates to the CIGA statutes to bring them into compliance to up to date. So that's basically what the bill's about, Mr. Chair. I'm ready.
Senator Rocky Adams. Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Girdler. Senator Howell. Senator Neal. Senator Schickel. Senator Smith. Senator Storm. Senator Turner. Senator Yates. Chairman Carpenter.
Aye. We have the bill does passed. Do I have a motion for consent? And a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? You're lucky, Sarge. The bill goes on consent.
Thank you.
Appreciate your all's testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you, committee.
All right. Our next bill is one we've got to spend plenty of time here lately talking about, and we're ready to get started on this one. Because of some health issues going on in Representative Duvall's family, we're glad to have Representative Meredith, my co-chair in the House, to discuss and talk about this bill, and also Senator Howell. He's gracious enough to help his colleague in discussion of this bill. So there is a committee sub, and I have a motion on the sub. Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The sub is approved. Senator Howell, just introduce yourself for the record, and we'll be started.
Yes, Jason Howell, Senate District 1. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This bill comes over from the House from Representative Duvall, who unfortunately couldn't be here today. This bill deals with the space of public adjusters and makes some technical changes and then some substantive changes. One major change in this is it sets maximum cap for what they can charge on a claim, with 10% for catastrophic, and those are defined in the statute, and 15% for non-catastrophic. It also cleans up some issues involving the storm chasers that come in and take advantage of people in their weakest moments. I know we've seen some instances of that in Western Kentucky with the tornadoes from last year, 2 years ago now, and Eastern Kentucky and the floods this year. And this kind of sets that out to kind of help the good actors that help Kentuckians all along, and some of the people that come out from out of state that want to do it right. It kind of separates them out. It also helps the Department of Insurance monitor some of this stuff. It gives some good transparency, excuse me, with having people register and have written contracts before the public adjusters get to work. It eliminates some of the extra fees that some of the public adjusters in this space did, in addition to what they were contracted to do for a percentage. And that is the basics of it. I'll turn this over to Representative Meredith if he had anything to add.
Michael Meredith, State Representative for the 19th House District, Chair of the House Banking and Insurance Committee. Just want to make note of the fact that this has been an open dialogue process through the entirety of from the time this bill was filed until what you see before you today. And I think there's probably one more amendment that will come on the floor before this process is complete, in working with a big group of stakeholders from the insurance industry, the Department of Insurance for the state, and the folks in the public adjuster space who are trying to do this the right way. This is really a consumer protection piece of legislation to make sure that consumers are protected and they get the proceeds that they need to maintain their homes and make the fixes that they need to make through their insurance. And I will say, through this process, you've seen a lot of changes. One of those big changes was mentioned by Senator Howell. We started on non-catastrophic claims below $25,000 with a 2.5% cap that was suggested by the Department of Insurance. We then went to a 10% cap across the board on all claims, and now we have agreed to, with the committee sub that you see today, a 15% cap on non-catastrophic claims. But I just want to take into account that if someone is getting 15% of the proceeds or more, then it's going to be hard for you to do the work that you need done on your home. And so it's important and imperative that we make sure the consumer is protected in these situations and has the funds available to do the work that they need to be done on their home at the end of the process.
I appreciate that. I agree. This is an issue that was, it's really one of those issues that you don't even think about it until it gets brought to you as being a concern. And like my co-chair, Representative Meredith, said, people from all across the issues have come to us now. We've had an open door dialogue. And as we all know, I always say, if both sides are a little frustrated and mad, we might have a decent piece of legislation that we can kind of work with. And I think everybody has really worked from, like you said, from the 2.5% on the fee schedule to the 10% to where we're at 10 and 15 now. I know there's groups that would like to have 20%. Then if we try to do more, somebody will want 25%. So we're trying to establish something that's fair and reasonable, because I'm a guy who's out doing this work every day, and I understand if there's a $12,000 claim, you get 10% of that. You're going to make $1,200. If you have to go out and to the job site 3 or 4 times, there's not a lot of money there to be made. But on something that's not a non-catastrophic deal, there's not a reason to have to make multiple trips, because a roof is a roof is a roof, as so many people sometimes tell us. But there is different situations if it's a catastrophe that's going to require more in-depth work, and so I think that's why we've increased that challenge. We've had folks from the public adjusters come in and talk to us about the issue, to explain this bill, explain what their business entity is, because I really didn't understand. I've got a lot of insurance on a lot of different property. I've never had to call a public adjuster because I'm able to do that stuff myself. But there are folks out here that may not understand the process, have after wind damage, have storm damage, and need somebody that can help them make a decision and help them get something done. And I understand the need for them and the purpose they serve, and I think they do that well. But like Representative Meredith said, we also, if they're getting a $15,000 claim, we don't want $6,000 or $7,000 of that claim to go towards paying somebody who helped them get that claim, because then how are they going to be able to pay it? So it's kind of one of those tricky trails that we're trying to figure out what's right for everybody involved to make sure we're protecting people. And we're not in the habit up here of telling people what they can charge or not charge. I know that's going to be some of the questions that may be asked, but there's some situations that we do that to make sure that we are fair for all parties involved, to make sure we're protecting the consumer. So I appreciate everybody's work, and I mean, we were working on this 5 minutes before we walked down here, and so this hasn't been an issue that's not been addressed, and concerns, and I'm sure if we go through the bill, there's going to be a language that somebody doesn't like, or there's going to be some verbiage that we may have to change, or something that needs to be done. Or once again, like I said, I'm not sure if we're ever going to make everybody exactly happy. I know Secretary Clark is back there with the insurance department. We appreciate you being here, and we know you've weighed in on this issue plenty as well. So I guess I'll open it up if there's any other questions or comments. Senator Yates.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your comments. I've kind of gone back and forth on this as well. It's hadn't previously worked in consumer protection litigation, having worked at the AG's office. There is a lot of fraud whenever we have disasters, not just in Kentucky, but throughout. And so there is certain levels of protections that we have to put in place for that reason. That being said, a lot of times when I see caps, I don't like that idea because it's a big government oversight into it. But again, we have to weigh those balance those interests. I'm thinking back early in my practice, I had a lady whose home had burned down in my district, horrific case. But somebody had pulled up in a big red truck that some fire restoration adjusted or something, and she didn't understand what she was doing. She just lost everything. She signed a contract that was something around 22%, something into it, and they started working with the restoration and everything else. She didn't know that she had hired someone. Luckily for her, that she had an attorney that had some idea what they were doing, and this individual company forgot to put a 3-day right to rescind on there. In a security interest, so I was able to send them hiking. But had she not, she didn't get her house repaired. She didn't have enough to get it done. And so to me, that's the kind of individual that we're looking to protect. But there has to be some kind of balance whenever we don't want to be big government that's coming in too deep into it. And so I think I'm happy with the compromise that's been reached. I'm looking at that. I know it's kind of arbitrary when you just pick these numbers, but that's kind of the way compromises work back and forth. I do have concern, about how this will play out and how that'll be enforced. But I'm talking to the Department of Insurance. I think we're missing a great asset that we need to be picking up the phone and snitching them out, picking up the phone and having them handled that way, because I think a lot of our consumers don't know they have that option as well. So I just want to say I appreciate the discussion. I appreciate the compromise, and kind of tell you where I was.
Well, I also have some folks signed up to testify. And I want to do that. And this young man come to my office actually to discuss it. Cole Klein, I believe he is here to maybe have a quick discussion. I'll let him come up just a second, Senator, or you can walk on up. I'm sorry, and you can sit down right beside Senator Howell. I was right beside him, and he didn't bite me, so I think you'll be safe.
I'll try not with you.
Senator Howell, go ahead. I'm sorry.
One thing I forgot to mention that Chairman Meredith alluded to, there was some discussion in the last bit of negotiations, and there was an agreement reached that wasn't articulated the way that it was intended to in the agreement. So I'll be if this does pass out of committee and goes to the floor, I'll be filing a floor amendment to clean up the language. It's about mandating that anything that goes on between the insurer and the insured, that the public adjuster that's involved gets copied in on all of that, so they're engaged and involved. And that was the intent of everybody. It was just an inadvertent drafting error that happens, and we can clean that up in a floor.
Okay, thanks. Introduce yourself for the record if you don't care.
Yeah, hello, my name's Cole Klein. I am here on behalf of APPIA, which is the American Association of Public Insurance Adjusters. I also run a public adjusting firm. We do quite a bit of work here in the state of Kentucky. And so I wanted to start by saying we appreciate the work of Chairman Meredith and Chairman Carpenter, all the effort that's been put into this bill. This is a 24-page bill, most of which is regulation of public adjusters. We believe to weed out bad actors, and we've agreed to all of that. We think that a lot of the bill offers a lot of positive parts to it. I'd like to note that most states do not have a fee cap, and only 13 of the 50 do. Examples of states that do have fee caps are Florida, which has a 20% fee cap, and Georgia, which has a 33% fee cap. We'd like to continue to work on the fee cap with the proponents of this bill. While we don't like fee caps, we have proposed a 20% fee cap, which would allow public adjusters to continue to work small claims. Public adjusters can't take smaller claims for 15%. In addition, from 2014 to 2018, the average size homeowners claim nationally was $13,687. This is from the Insurance Information Institute 2021 Insurance Fact Book on page 105. It's information published by insurance companies. Our concern here is that the bill limits the resources of consumers and your constituents on claims that are of smaller size, and take away the choice of consumers to work with firms that may be just better equipped to help them. We ask that you vote no or continue to work with us on an acceptable fee cap. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, and I appreciate you coming to the office the other day and helping us work on the issues as well. I think Senator Girdler had a question or comment as well.
As being in the insurance business for 40 years, I'm over this way, sir. As being in the insurance business for 40 years and property casualty agency, we have a lot of bad characters come in. They read about a hailstorm and they stand, one man didn't know who I was and was standing down on the road and saying, "You got hail damage to your roof." I said, "How can you tell that? You know, I want you to go hunting with me because you got eagle eyes." Anyway, we have a lot of this. My question is, you know, the consumer himself is bought the insurance. The insurance company chose to insure the property. The bank that chose to finance the property has as much or more insurable interest in that property than the insured or anybody else. So what happens if the bank, if the insurance company, which 90% of them do, as I understand, if there's $20,000 done on a house, that goes to the insured and the mortgage company. What happens if it's, you're talking about the extra money that if they do get a public adjuster, who pays that? If it's a $20,000 claim and the insurance company pays $19,000 less the $1,000 deductible, but you're charging 20% or 15%, who's that left to?
No, I'm really, it's a really great question and a reasonable one. A lot of what we do as public adjusters is present coverage under the policy. So we take a lot of claims where there's zero payment, but they should have been. And the insured has to come out of, or the policyholder would be coming out of pocket 100%. And with the help of a public adjuster, they're able to find resources to get, in your example, the roof system replaced. We've done a lot of work in Kentucky with the tornadoes and even the recent wind damage. So, completely just missing shingles or that kind of thing. Hopefully that answers your question.
Not really. May I? If you're saying that public adjusters come into play when the insurance companies offers zero. Is that what you just said?
In some circumstances, yeah, that's the case. When we
can you give me an example of why the insurance company or what they of a particular case when they offered zero?
Yeah, absolutely. So on smaller claims, say it's just an average size roof, a lot of adjusters that work those have lower levels of authority, and they are on those claims because a lot of them can be.
You're saying public adjuster or adjusters with the insurance company?
Adjusters from the insurance company. A lot of them can be newer adjusters, or and that's why they're working these smaller claims. And so we work with a lot of these guys that, or even in CAT events where they just get a bucket of claims to go out and run to, and it's one after another, and there's oversights on claims. I don't think that a lot of insurance companies are intentional by any means, but they are all humans. So things get denied or incorrectly adjusted, and in those circumstances,
Don't you think that's where the Department of Insurance comes into play? I've been 40 plus years property and casualty. It's all I ever did. I've yet to run into where when a public adjuster got more money or anything else for an insured. Maybe my company will just give it out. I don't know. You're talking about like in tornado damage in Mayfield?
Yeah.
I promise you, the insurance companies don't want a bad name, and I promise you, they went in and wrote checks to everybody and give them everything they ever wanted. They did not, from my experience with my company and all the other companies. I don't see. I understand where, Senator Yates got into the thing of, they go in and get this contract signed, and then they call us and say, you can't deal with your insured, you got to deal with us. Well, the insured bought the insurance from the insurance company. Mm-hmm. All right? We can't negate that. We can't negate the mortgage company. I know that there's a need for adjusters. I know that. I know that beyond any doubt. But to when you say you add the bill, you add 12%, 15%, or 20%, whatever it is, the insurance is only going to pay for the damage that's done. And if there's a mortgage, they're going to pay that, So how many public adjusters are there in Kentucky?
So I believe there's for resident adjusters. I don't know about the.
I'm talking about public adjusters.
Yeah, I don't know total, but resident, I believe there's about 20. Yeah, and you bring up some good points. I think the Department of Insurance does a great job.
Yeah.
And an insurance company is not going to pay more money just because a public adjuster is on the claim. They're going to pay more money because the policy elicits coverage for those items. It was just presented by the public adjuster. And I don't think insurance companies are maliciously out doing that either. I think that they all have good intentions. Mm-hmm. A lot of times there's just oversight and a necessity for public adjusters. So, especially on small claims, which an average of 13,600. As a firm, we'd have a really hard time taking those on at 15%.
Just for note, and just because I read some magazines about insurance, State Farm, nationwide,
mm-hmm.
lost $13.1 billion last year. $13.1 billion. And they didn't do it through any other system other than their own system. And I think the insurance companies I've dealt with have always been Johnny on the spot. Now, do y'all do any BI claims? Because I know we got some lawyers up here. Are y'all allowed to do BIs?
The business interruption?
No, bodily injury.
We don't. No. Yeah. No third party, just first party claims.
I know that was one of their concerns. They was worried about that, and I don't think that would ever happen in the Department of Insurance. So,
yeah.
Anyway, I still got a motion on the bill.
I know. Appreciate it, Senator Girdler. Thank you, Cole. I appreciate you answering those questions, and I think that's well said. That everybody understands that there are some bad actors. There's bad insurance companies. There's bad agents. Senator Girdler was not a bad agent. We know that, and that does make a difference on who your agent is and your personal relationship on getting some things accomplished. I think we all understand that better. We all understand there is a need for what you guys do. That's why we're trying to make it as workable as possible to protect everybody. We do have a motion on the bill by Senator Girdler. Do I have a second? We have a second Is there any other questions that I have on the list? I don't see any. So I think we're ready, gentlemen. If you don't have any other comments or questions, we'll have the secretary please call the roll.
No, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Senator Rocky Adams. Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Girdler. Senator Howell. Senator Neal. Senator Schickel. Senator Smith. Senator Storm. Senator Turner.
Yes, sir. You sure can.
I appreciate all the work that these, I guess, insurance people have done on this bill. I got the copy, I guess, kind of late, but I find there's a lot of legalese. I hope that somebody will get in and work out because under the bill as it stands now, this question that was asked about what you can do, there's a provision here that would prevent anybody basically from discussing non-economic damages. And as a lawyer of 43 years, I've been a lawyer a little bit longer. My good friend has been insurance. And Mr. Neal, some of us in here, there's some language that even prevents you, the insured, from having the right to be present when your insurance company's adjuster is in there. And I can go on, but I don't want to. There's a number, when you got directive says shall, that means it's enforceable and you can't do it. I think there's a question of about 72 hours. I hope there's not a 4-day holiday that would invalidate a contract under this bill because it says you got to do that within 72 hours. I'm just speaking legally. My good friend spoke insuredly. I'm speaking legally. It needs cleanup, okay? And I hope that gets done, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to vote aye on that good will that everybody, and I'll be more than glad to put my input into it.
Well, we're
with a
going
floor
to put
amendment or whatever.
we may have to put your 43 years or 44.
43.
Okay, 43 years of expertise to the issue. We sure appreciate that because we have had lots of people working on this. So if there's things that you need to bring to make that better, we sure will accommodate that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Appreciate it.
Senator Yates.
Explain my yes vote.
Please.
In my 17 years of practicing injury law, I'm just kidding. Part of it is, as I look at it, I get real antsy when I see anything that I say that would even allow a layperson to practice in an area that I would almost look like practicing law without a license. What I've seen is it's already happening. We already have people, and it's happened to the point it is a problem. And so when I look at this bill as a way of limiting that and trying to protect consumers, I think we'd be really careful to letting that be expanded on. I do think that there are already in law that there's provisions in the event that some of our constituents are taken advantage of by some ill motives. There's some consumer protection that can be brought in place. But I think that allowing these general caps, which I usually don't like caps, but you're capping on lay individuals who are practicing in an area that's quasi-law without a license. So I'm a yes vote.
Thank you.
Chairman Carpenter.
Aye. Because we the bill that does pass with favorable expression, but because we got some issues that we do want to work out and give ourselves to do that, we won't put it on consent. I know Senator Howell always loves to work on these amendments and get those done on the floor, but
It's what I live for, Mr. Chairman. It's what I live for.
I knew that. So, and that just means our good friends that keep pulling our jacket arms as we're walking down the hallways are going to continue that for a few more days. So, hey, makes everybody excited. But I do appreciate everybody's hard work. Representative Meredith, we appreciate you coming over to the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, appreciate your help on this one.
Thank you very much. So this bill does pass, and we look forward to seeing it move forward. Thank you, everybody on the committee. Are there any other issues that need to be addressed before the committee?